Everybody wants to go to Dumaguete. Today, it's the 2026 Dumaguete City Guide.
Today, we're talking about Dumaguete, the most overrated city in the Philippines or the most desirable place for an expat retirement. And we have compiled a 100-page 2026 Dumaguete City Guide. Chrissy, when I first came to the Philippines, I was so driven to check out Dumaguete. So many vloggers had shown so much of Dumaguete. I knew more about Dumaguete than the Philippines itself. And I told you, what did I tell you when I first met you?
When you first met me online, you talk a lot about Dumaguete. And even myself, as a local in the Philippines, don't know about Dumaguete. But I think you have studied Dumaguete for a very long time. If you're a Western man thinking about retiring, relocating, or even just spending 90 days here, this video will save you time, money, and possibly a very expensive mistake.
We've taken it upon ourselves to write a guidebook, a city guidebook. The numbers to call for the police, where to go for medical help, where to go for the best coffee, what are the hotels, what is the ferry schedule, how do you find a woman in Dumaguete? We've got the A to Z. Now, we wrote another book. It's a 300-page guidebook for the entire Philippines. And in the spirit of a guidebook, now that one's for sale on Amazon, but this particular book is going to be given away free. At the end of this video, stay tuned. We'll tell you how to get it absolutely free, no obligation. Now, we think you want to know about Dumaguete, the 2026 Dumaguete City Guidebook, and whether it's all pros. Is this the most overrated city in the Philippines, Chrissy, or is this the number? Why do so many expat Westerners end up there? We're going to talk about it. We're going to tell you about it, and you'll make up your own decision and give us your opinion. Many of you have been there. What do you think?
And the good thing about this guide is it's very specific. And by the end of this episode, you'll know exactly who Dumaguete works for, who it doesn't, and what your first 7 days should look like if you decide to come.
Because Dumaguete isn't just about low rent and Silvanas. It's about lifestyle. It's about personality, Chrissy, and it's about whether this city matches you right now.
Some men come to Dumaguete and thrive. Others feel bored, isolated, or frustrated within 6 months.
So instead of giving you a 2-page glossy brochure version, we're going to discuss the most critical decision factors for you to know whether you should visit Dumaguete when you come to the Philippines, whether you should make preparations to live in Dumaguete, whether you should find out if Dumaguete, Valencia, Darwin are the right cities for you, and to get prepared. Stick around, and if you want the complete, I think it's about 100 pages, Chrissy. We have to put it into PDF tonight. It's all written. It's been proofed. We've got the ferry time schedules. We got the numbers to call in an emergency. We got the best restaurants. We got the day trips. We have what to do in 7 days. We're going to go through the decision factors. Stick around if you want the complete Dumaguete City Guide. And Chrissy, you got tips on every chapter. Chrissy gives you her tips, how to handle it, what to do. I give you my tips. Write to us at flymetothephilippines@gmail.com for the complete 2026 Dumaguete City Guide. And of course, visit Amazon to get the 300-page Philippines Travel Guide. #1 in Philippines travel for almost a year now.
All right, let's start talking about the most important factor of living Dumaguete. #1 is cost of living.
Chrissy, Dumaguete is a low-cost opportunity. I think it's about 40% less expensive than uptown BGC or the best parts of Makati. And I think you could afford to live in Dumaguete for somewhere between $1,300 US and $2,250 US. You could fit in, you could have a good lifestyle, you could afford $100 per month for medical insurance, 60 to 90,000 Philippine pesos, Chrissy. And you think on that budget they could afford air conditioning?
Yeah, I think so. Like, living in Dumaguete is lower cost compared to other cities, but absolutely not the lowest.
Yeah, Dumaguete is a small town. It's got about 125,000 people. What makes it really unique is it punches above its weight in terms of healthcare. There is the oldest American-based university in Asia, Silliman, and it has a medical school, and because of that, it's really unusual that you would have that quality of medical care in such a small town. And if you went to other towns like Rojas City, which is about the same size, that's where you would really notice the difference, that they wouldn't have that quality of medical care for such a small town.
Of course, it's not as good as the healthcare, you know, in Manila or Cebu, but it's better than any other places in
its size. Yeah, we live in a town of 850,000. I think the medical care in our town would be superior to Dumaguete. And obviously St. Luke's in Manila and Makati Medical in Manila and then Chonghua in Cebu City. Davao also would have top tier medical. Once you leave those three cities, Dumaguete surprisingly competes because of the Silliman University and the medical school.
Yeah, and Dumaguete is not that far from Cebu. You know, they have an airport where you can fly directly to Cebu or Manila anytime.
And the airport is very close to town.
Yeah.
And you know, just a little side note, when you walk out of the Dumaguete airport, they'll be lined up tricycles. There's really no taxis in Dumaguete, but they'll want like 450 pesos to take you into town. If you just say no and walk about 40 yards, the last tricycle guy or the guy across the street, he'll take you there for about 150 pesos.
How about those expats or foreigners who have major health issues? Do you think Dumaguete can,
I mean, if you're a veteran and you have VA medical care, a lot of those guys want to live near the VA in Manila. And so that's something you're going to have to decide. It's a short flight to Manila and to top-notch medical care. So as long as you've got time, you're going to be able to make arrangements and go get top-notch medical care at St. Luke's or other places. If you don't need to be very close to a top specialist, you don't need to go in every 2 weeks for a doctor, I think you're fine. I think it's just like living in a town like we live in of 850,000 people.
If you're worried about just minor health issues, I think Dumaguete is good for you.
I think it's an acceptable option to get a small town, low-cost life with pretty good medical care.
So Rob, number 3 is that brownouts and infrastructure.
Yes.
We've been to Dumaguete many times, and yes, we experience brownouts, especially on Sundays. They have like a regular brownout schedule in Dumaguete, and that's kind of like a problem.
Once a month is normally scheduled. It can happen more than once a month, but we were there more than once on a Sunday, and we rented at a condo, the Marina Spatial condo, and it said they had a generator, and we thought we were good to go, but it turns out the generator just ran the elevators, the emergency lighting, and the alarm system, CCTV. Thank God they had a pool, and there was a coffee shop nearby that had a generator. But we were out of pocket all day, from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. We had not planned it would have been a good day to plan an excursion.
Yes, well, the good thing about it is that when there's a brownout, there's a lot of coffee shops or any other establishments that runs Wi-Fi and generators when there's a brownout.
Yeah, but it's hard to kill 8 hours in one coffee shop.
I know.
Dumaguete's infrastructure, it's okay. It's about average. The sidewalks aren't overly crumbled.
I would say minimal. Not too exaggerated like city like, Makati, BGC, and Cebu.
It's not perfect infrastructure. It's sort of typical, maybe just slightly better than typical. They do have the promenade, which is really nice along the ocean. But in terms of infrastructure, there's no taxis, no Grab that we know of. There may be 1 or 2 Grab drivers, but it's really all tricycles. And when you do get a tricycle, Chrissy, it can seat 4 people typically. And they are going to stop and add passengers along the way.
Yeah,
and you can breathe that exhaust of the motorcycle the whole ride.
That's why a lot of foreigners going there, they're going to rent a car or rent a motorcycle so that, they can have the access of transportation wherever they go because they don't have taxi there.
Yeah.
And I think it is ideal. They want to explore the whole Dumaguete or the nearest places from Dumaguete.
The proximity to the beaches and the proximity to the fresh air up in Valencia in the hills. And if you do have a tricycle, and we do put tricycle rental information in the guide, but that gives you a lot of freedom. Now with that comes a little bit of danger, loose gravel, chickens and dogs in the road. It's not a modern city infrastructure. I'll just say that. Okay.
Like normal Philippines infrastructure.
It's like normal Philippines.
Yes.
Everything's half built or half falling apart, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 4 is the walkability and the boulevard, the famous boulevard
Yes.
as mentioned. But you said it's not really a...
It's not a boardwalk, but it reminds Westerners of a boardwalk along the beach, a Malacan along the coast of Spain, a boardwalk along Mission Beach or Santa Monica Beach or Ocean City, New Jersey. So we Westerners, we love a boardwalk. Now, it's a 1 to 2 kilometer promenade, the boulevard. It can be brutally hot out there in the middle of
On
the day,
daytime,
and you won't
yeah.
see many people out there after 9 a.m. and before 5:30 at night. But it will get lively in the morning, and it will get very lively in the evening. When you get some and there are some strategically placed trees that you can walk on the sidewalk along the street at one time of day, and on the other side of the trees the other time of day. And but you can get your exercise, you can run into a lot of foreigners, you can meet people, you can get that feeling of being on a boardwalk. Now, there's no beach. There's people playing volleyball in the sand maybe, but there's no swimming along a beach. It's not like a boardwalk in the traditional sense where there's a beach right there.
Yeah, I think like in any other places in the Philippines, once the beach or the ocean is near the city, this is not like the ideal place to swim.
No.
It should be like farther from the city.
Yeah,
That is where you can find a good beach.
And 20 minutes south, there's very good beaches. And there's plenty of people who are finding places to live 20 minutes south, and a little further south, even another 35 minutes south. We have a client who rented a beautiful 3-bedroom, 2-bath home about 100 meters from the beach in a small 10-home subdivision. Just a beautiful lifestyle. It's about 35-minute ride into Dumaguete. If you're up in the hills of Valencia, you can get to a beach in 20 minutes. If you're in Dumaguete, you can get to a good beach. In our city, where we live, it's not a beach town. We can get to a restaurant overlooking the bay in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But a beach you'd want to swim in for our city is over an hour. It's a little over an hour away to get to a really good white sand beach. Dumaguete is going to give you this combination of a close-in, but it's not in town. It's not on the promenade. Just want to mention that.
Okay, number 5 is the Valencia Escape. Since we mentioned about places nearby Dumaguete, that's a good thing about Dumaguete, because even though you're not gonna reside on the actual city, the heart of the city, Dumaguete, but it is just like not so far away from the other places as well, which is Valencia. So let's talk about Valencia.
Foreigners are drawn to the cool air and the elevation of Valencia. It's a very interesting opportunity. It's 20 minutes up the hill. Now, Chrissy, we've rented a trike and we've explored Valencia. We thought we were going to move there. We have friends that live there. What we found was it's just 20, and if you have your own scooter or you have your own vehicle, it's super convenient. It's just 15, 20 minutes up the hill. You're at 1,500 feet of elevation. In the evening, you're going to throw your windows open. You're going to catch those breezes. You're going to experience a lot of the cooler weather we get here in the mountains, but you're only going to be 20 minutes away from a good beach and 20 minutes away from Robinson's Mall in downtown Dumaguete and access to a lot of where the expats are hanging out. So it's an interesting combination. Now, Chrissy, what I found was 20, 30 years ago, a lot of people would come and buy 5-hectare pieces, and they'd build like a really nice house and a swimming pool.
And we'll make it like a compound.
Like a compound. But over time, they realized, wow, I could build like 5 condos on this compound and rent it out to foreigners. And many foreigners have found spectacular housing on these compounds, which have been turned into quasi-rental properties, and they get to use the pool and the electric gate that the owner had, and there's some German guy from 25 years ago that built it. There's lots of these places kind of hopscotch up in Valencia. Now, the downside of Valencia is the zoning is a little hopscotch too. We drove around and we saw rooster farm after rooster farm.
It's not the quietest place.
It's not the quiet, and there is irregular zoning. There are a lot of regular folks living in, really subpar housing, and they're against the walls or adjacent to some of these compounds. And you should be very, very careful about renting one of these places. We have a friend, and they lived there for a year, and we had been experiencing a lot of noise in our previous house. And we said, is it quiet? What, there were so many rooster farms, and the zoning was haphazard. How's your experience? She said, it's not a problem at all. except 1 month a year, they have a disco, and for basically 24 hours a day, boom, 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 and it's a mile away. The barangay disco was like a mile from their house, but they could hear that. So you would have to be very, and I'll tell you another quick story. There's a very well-known vlogger who started about 7 years before us, and he lived in a really gorgeous compound. He was always filming out at his pool in Valencia, and he moved. The day he moved out, he'd been making video along at that pool and showing off his condo, but the day he moved out, he fessed up. He said, behind that gate live 10 dogs, and those 10 dogs have 10 close friends. And all night long, they're tweeting back and forth and retweeting, tweeting and retweeting. And it was just a miserable situation. He never kind of fessed up to it when he was making all those videos. But so that's a problem you might face. But if you could take the noise and the neighbors and the karaoke and the roosters and the barking dogs out of the equation, in terms of a place up where you get a nice breeze, and you're close to downtown, you're close to the beaches, it has a lot to offer. Next in our book, what do we talk about next?
We talk about the expat bubble risk.
And you mean it could be just the percentage of expats in town could be overwhelming. And some of these expats could be heavy drinkers. You might find yourself hanging out with the same 8 guys at the bar every day. You might find yourself not really getting the Philippines experience. When we go in a coffee shop in Dumaguete, there's always like 8 foreigners in the coffee shop.
Yes.
Everywhere we go, and people don't see you the same way as they will elsewhere in the Philippines. Just the percentage of foreigners, I mean, it's not overwhelming. You're still in the Philippines, but it is a very high percentage. Now, when I first came, and we talked about this, I was compelled to befriend everybody. I wanted to meet expats. I wanted to meet other Westerners. I made a lot of friends quickly. I guess if we'd gone to Dumaguete, we would have fallen in with dozens and dozens of people right away.
Yeah, so it's going to be overwhelming for me too.
Right.
To be around a lot of expats, I guess, as a Filipina.
Yeah, your Filipina is going to meet a lot of women who are dating foreigners. And you do see a lot of men who are just dating. They're not really in long-term relationships. I always notice there's men, they seem to be in very new relationships with Filipinas in Dumaguete.
Yeah, well, you know, a lot of foreigners there, so there might be a lot of Filipinas that are, you know, on the pond, because I think that's one of the reasons why Dumaguete is like a sweet spot from a lot of you.
Speaking about that, let's talk about number 7.
The dating climate.
If I was looking for a Filipina, I don't think I would go to Dumaguete because there's so many foreign men. And you know, when I went online to meet you, the first thing I did was I said, show me Dumaguete women plus or minus 50 kilometers. And I think other men are doing that too. They're going, oh, so I want to go to Cebu City. I want to go to Dumaguete. Show me women who live like 25, 50 kilometers. So I think those women are being very heavily targeted. And I think when they go out into the grocery store, when they go out to get coffee, they're seeing a lot of foreign men. So it may be a little bit of not a target-rich environment to find Filipinas. It's not the place to go to find a Filipina who's never dated a foreign man, who's never spoken to a foreign man.
What are the chances of, you know, of getting a Filipina from Dumaguete that have never talked to a foreigner, have never met a foreigner in person? Yeah, not really. But you know, it really depends on what they're really looking for. Because if they're looking for somebody who want to have an experience with foreigner because they don't want to go to the very first step of dating, they want an experienced one, then I think Dumaguete is the best. Well,
we have several clients. They just went and they met their excursion guide. They met their waitress. There's a vlogger. He married the waitress from Dumaguete. She was a college girl, and they ended up getting married. And we have a client. He met someone at a resort. So it happens all the time. But I think you would have better prospects in a city that didn't have such a high concentration of foreigners.
So there are Western men, Rob, that been dating Filipinas outside Dumaguete but wants to reside in Dumaguete for some reason. I think it's just the expat community.
Yeah, I mean, you were from Mindanao, but you were willing to live anywhere I wanted. We checked out Davao, we checked out Iloilo, we checked out Boracay and Palawan, and we went to Manila and Cebu City and, you know, Mactan Newtown, and we checked out Dumaguete, and we spent a lot of time there. And I think if it was more convenient for you to get home to your family, we would have probably picked it because of it seemed like an easier transition for me.
I think one of the reasons as well why Western men wants to be in Dumaguete is that a lot of men made a study of the place, since it was like one of the famous places where
So many
foreigners...
look, let's be honest. You're watching YouTube. Like 8 out of 10 vloggers are from Dumaguete, and then they vlog. They interview each other, and and people like to meet vloggers. People always want to meet vloggers. They want to meet us. But when you go to Dumaguete, you're going to have a list of 7 vloggers you could ask to meet up with, and you don't know anybody else in the whole country. And it's just like a salmon going back upstream or something. Expats want to go there. They've seen so much about it. They want to figure out why it drew all these other vloggers. And there's lots of good reasons in our book. It'll give you the 7-day tour guide, the excursions you should go on, all that stuff. Let's go on to the next section.
The 7-day first week strategy.
Yeah, you're coming to Dumaguete. You're a foreigner. You've been watching years of YouTube. Probably going to go there and check it out. What are you going to do your first week?
So there are some spots in Dumaguete that must visit. First is the promenade, the Boulevard. I would suggest go there maybe around 4 p.m. And higher, I think, so that to avoid the heat. And it's also a lot of people going there in the afternoon because that's where they open the stores, the food
It's
carts,
a little
and
bit
all of
it can
that.
be lively in the early evening. Yeah,
Yes.
and you'll get a break from the heat. So you definitely want to feel the Boulevard experience, enjoy the view of the ocean, and see downtown.
Yeah.
That whole downtown experience.
And also, they also need to experience the restaurants around Dumaguete.
Yes.
Experience each to.
Yeah, and the restaurants are unusually, for the size of the town it is, because there's so many expats, there's some very good restaurants. They're all listed in the city guide. Chrissy, like us, you're going to spend at least a day exploring Valencia. You're going to want to know what types of accommodations. It's a cute little town. It's a crossroads, and there's an open market on the weekend, and a jeepney will take you up and down the mountain. If we hired a trike driver.
That's a good suggestion. Just hire a trike driver because most of the tricycle driver, they know the places, so they can tour you around. Plus, you don't have to get on and off the jeepney.
That motorcycle was struggling going up that mountain.
Yeah, but it went there. It reached.
Yeah. So, but I think you'll find that if you don't have your own trike or your own car, it could be challenging to live up there, to rely on jeepneys with groceries and shopping back and forth. But I think you want to explore Valencia and the cooler climate and get a feel for esse you'd want to live. That's where I think most foreigners choose to live. The short-term people tend to live more downtown. And then, Chrissy, Darwin is known for scuba resorts. The scuba resorts can be a little pricey in Darwin, and you're going to pay more for that type of experience. But, the Philippines is really a scuba snorkeling destination. For beaches, you're going to go to Phuket, you're going to go to Da Nang. There's other places in Asia to find the best beaches. But when it comes to snorkeling and scuba, the Philippines really has little competition.
Yeah, but I don't think Dumaguete was known for like white beach.
No, it's not known for a white beach. It's known for, they have nice beaches, just 20 minutes between Dumaguete and Darwin. I think it's Bakong. And they're very nice beaches, but it's not a world-class beach by any means. They should do a structured meetup. Once a week, there's going to be expats getting together. You want to know what the expat meetup community is like. Plan to be at one of the expat meetups. Go on the Facebook groups, find the Facebook group for
Dumaguete
expats, find out where they're meeting, go to that coffee shop, go to that dinner, and meet up. And then, Chrissy, everybody wants to swim with the whale sharks. And if you take the ferry to Cebu and drive a short distance, you can go to Oslo. And, Chrissy, one of our favorite places, the island of Siquijor, is just an hour by Fast Cat. We have the schedules in the city guide. And we stayed at Cocoa Grove Resort for our honeymoon. And oh my God, that white beach and that scuba there, that snorkeling, that was to die for.
Yeah, I just want to share this. Like, Cagayan de Oro is near from Camiguin Island, right?
Yes.
But to go to Camiguin Island, you have to drive 2 hours to go to the port and then travel by boat to Camiguin.
Yeah.
In Dumaguete, The port is just
Right downtown.
On the city. It's
Yeah.
very accessible for you to go to Siquijor or Bohol.
You can take a day trip to Siquijor and come right back.
Yeah, or even Bohol.
Bohol is going to be a couple hours away,
Mm-hmm.
but the Fast Cat will take you in an hour to Siquijor. A lot of people just put their motorcycle on in the morning and they drive around the island. They spend 2-3 hours on a nice beach and they catch the 4 or 5 o'clock ferry back home, and they're back in bed, back home for dinner. So there's so many trips you can make, and their flights from Dumaguete aren't going to take you back to Manila or Cebu City. There may be one flight to Iloilo. There are very few point-to-point flights once you get to Dumaguete, so you need to plan your trip. You could take an overland bus up to Bacolod, and then take a 1-hour ferry to Iloilo. And once you're in Iloilo, you could visit our friend Michael Smith over in Rojas City. It's 2 hours, 2.5 hours drive across the city, and do some exploration. Once you're in the Visayas, that's one of the reasons why people like Dumaguete, because you're in the Visayas. You can go to Mindanao, you can go to Siquijor, you can go to Camigan Island, you can go to Bohol, you can go so many places. They're all the places, and Palawan is near.
It's
not
like
too
a
far
home
too.
base. It's good for home base.
Good for home base. Okay, what's next, Chrissy?
Now let's talk about transportation.
Yes.
We mentioned there's no taxi in there.
So in the 2026 City Guide, we talk about scooter rental prices and locations. Scooter is a freedom ticket, low cost freedom. The trikes, like we said, you're going to be breathing that fuel. You got to bring a mask with you just in case you get the wind in the wrong direction and you're breathing that gas tank.
And we'll have random passengers.
In terms of transportation, the airport is very good. It's close to town. The ferry network is very good too. There's a ferry terminal, very, very easy to get to. And you'll have buses, and there's good land transportation. You can get to a lot of places. Okay, what's next, Chrissy?
Safety and mindset. I think not just in Dumaguete, but in general.
Yeah, but I think Dumaguete is a pretty safe place. I never really felt threatened, but it pays to have a safety mindset. I never wear a watch in the Philippines. Chrissy wears a watch, and she wears jewelry, but I don't go out in public wearing a gold watch. I keep my wallet in my front pocket. I don't wander out of drinking establishments after dark. And I check out what I'm doing ahead of time. I just use a little bit more precaution after being a world traveler.
It's not a zero crime, but lesser than average, I guess.
I think so. I think it's a calm.
Some rumors about political issues, but you don't want to get involved with that.
That's not something that's going to. And so it's a very safe place to come visit. You'll be very, very comfortable. Yeah, keep an eye on your valuables. What's next, Chrissy?
Are you running from something or building something?
And this is important, Chrissy. If you've got an alcohol problem in the West, the cost of tequila is stupid low here in the Philippines. It's going to follow you, and you're going to run into that problem. If you've got a substance problem, a gambling problem, if you've got a problem with maintaining relationships, these problems will follow you. And so, but if you're starting over and you're building fresh and you've left those bad habits behind, you've got enough of a pension that as long as you don't bring those bad habits with you, Dumaguete is a perfect place for you to integrate and start over. Where better to meet other expats starting over? Other expats had a divorce. Other expats lost a wife. Other expats had their business go bad during a depression. Other expats had a financial problem, and they're starting over, and they're not going to judge you. They're not going to label you. You're going to find your own kind here. There's a lot of military veterans on disability. There's a lot of retired people who have a need to just reinvent themselves. And I think Dumaguete's a great place, and anybody who would like to have a city guide that tells you where to stay, where to go, what phone number to call, what restaurants to go to, what hotels, what day trips, what excursions. Chrissy, we put a lot of work into it. Every single chapter, you've got your tips for how an expat can enjoy himself with a Filipina.
It's all in Dumaguete City Guide.
It's the 2026 Dumaguete City Guide. If they want a free copy, no strings attached, what do they do, Chrissy?
Email us at flyme2thephilippines@gmail.com.
Till next time.
Only here from Fly Me to the Philippines.
We'll see you in Dumaguete.